Welcome, everybody. We're on the Facebook Live right now for the Physical Therapy Owners Club Facebook group. But for those who are listening on the podcast, hello and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club. Got good buddy and partner Adam Robin with me again. How you feeling today, man?
And honestly, I've been working hard,
Good.
but feeling good, feeling charged, excited to be here.
Good. So you threw out this topic, and it's one that I've never covered on the podcast, honestly. I remember mentioning it a little bit in a marketing episode that I did with Joey Albritton probably 2-3 years ago. But even then, we probably spent 5 minutes on it. So converting more referrals to new patients. Where'd that come from? What made you decide on that topic?
So I had, so when I'm thinking about these topics, I usually will go back to like the last coaching calls that I've had over the last, let's say 3 or 4 weeks.
Sure.
And I'll kind of like run through my calendar. And I had this coaching call with a client recently, and she was like, "Yeah, our conversions are down." I was like, "Really? Really? Tell me more about that." And she was like, "Yeah, we call the what'd she say? Something to the effect of when we get a referral, we call them like one time for the week and we leave them a voicemail." And I was like, "What?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Wait a minute. No.
You take one shot.
We call them twice a day."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So I was like, I'm wondering if there's some more like work we could do. Like one thing that I feel like I think it's just like I don't know if it's our profession or just when we're trying to evaluate performance, like there's a sense of urgency that needs to be there, and even more so whenever you're talking about conversions or sales, like speed and urgency are important.
Right.
And so I felt like, why not? I don't remember talking about this in detail with you for a while. So let's chat about it,
Yeah, I like that you brought up the sense of urgency because it starts with the owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they set the pace, they set the tone for the clinic. And I'm a laid back type of dude. So
yeah,
instilling urgency in me almost has to come externally. Like my coaches needed to tell me, "Oh no, you were supposed to do that when I brought it up last week."
right.
Oh, I didn't know that was a homework assignment. Like, no, now is the time to do it. So when you go back, you do this blank, right? And so that's how I am. I think there could be many owners out there like me who they don't want to offend, right? We're very much a profession that doesn't want to offend. We need to be nice to everybody. That's why we don't try to get in fights with the AMA or anything like that and stand up for ourselves. We want to placate everybody, but I think that also bleeds into a passivity and also an unwillingness to be urgent about some things. And when it comes to a person in our community that needs help, then we need to be urgently seeking them out and finding them and bringing them into our clinics because we know we are the answer. And to think otherwise is a little bit selfish. I would be willing to go that far to say, if we're not being urgent about helping people, then we're being selfish because we're thinking about how we feel. And, oh, I would look bad if I impressed or pushed myself onto somebody, even though we know they need help, right? So
Yeah.
when someone has a musculoskeletal injury, we know they need physical therapy. And if that was my mom that needed physical therapy, I would hope that the physical therapy clinic was calling her 2 and 3 times a day to get her in, because I know that the sooner that she gets in, the sooner that she gets better, right? And that's in her best interest. And that urgency needs to start with the owner, and then needs to be somehow the water needs to get to the end of the row. So that front desk person has that same, if not more, urgency to get that patient in the door to be seen, right?
Yeah. Urgency is a big deal. And you're right. Like our profession, I always tell people like all the stuff that you tell yourself about, like, I don't want to be bothered and, oh, I don't want it to be weird. I don't want them to think I'm pushy. Like just
salesy.
You got to get rid of it. You gotta get rid of it. Or you have to find somebody on your team who doesn't have that.
Doesn't care.
Right.
Well, and think about the words that you're using, because they are the words that people use in their head. And this is the talk that they have in their mind, but it's all about, I don't want to be seen as.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say it comes from a selfish place. I don't want to be the person who, I don't want to be seen as the salesman. I don't feel comfortable doing blank. And it comes back to selfishness. I think that we just don't, we limit our impact because we don't want to be seen in negative light when we could be withholding.
Yeah. I think it's, I think a little self-confidence, some believing in yourself and believing in what you're doing, like having that mindset really, really established. And like, listen, we are here to help people, and dang it, we're serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's it. And we have an obligation to do everything that we can to help them. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a great fit for this clinic, but we're going to find out, you know what I mean? If there's somebody out there in pain or who's had a total knee, or sorry, my phone's going off, who's had some type of ailment and they could benefit from our service. Like, it's our job to identify if we're a solution to that problem and seek that out,
Yeah. And still, I come back to the physical therapist, the providers, and where I am now, 20 years down the road, separated from the physical therapist that opened up his own clinic and was scared of every new patient that came into the clinic, because I'm like, someone's going to figure out that I'm a fraud one of these times. Right. And they never did. Did I have success all the time? Of course not. But I would love to go back to that younger Nathan Shields and say, dude, you're a musculoskeletal expert.
Dude, you're a big deal.
We know just as much musculoskeletal stuff as almost as much as orthopedic surgeons, and more than the general practitioners, right? We are experts in the musculoskeletal field. You have a responsibility because of your expertise to now serve other people and act from that mindset and stand in that space confidently. You might not feel it, but simply because of the training that you've had, that's who you are, right? And to live in that space confidently, I think attracts more patients. It attracts the belief patients that have in you, right? And if they have that belief and that confidence in you, then they're willing to show up for the next visits. They're willing to follow through with a full plan of care. They're less likely to cancel. So I think that confidence bleeds down, and especially as you grow, it's imperative that that confidence bleeds down into your team. Because I noticed as our team was confident, especially the front desk person, when they were confident that we were doing good in this society, in this community, and we got great results, it was easy for them to have conversations with patients and tell them, no, you don't cancel, you reschedule.
Right.
You need to maintain your plan of care, right? It's so imperative that bleeds out into our team members.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of the things you do then to, I mean, the urgency, the mindset is one thing to talk about. Okay, how do we get that urgency? How do we get it trained into our team? What are some of the things you guys do to ensure that these new referrals are converting into new patients?
Well, listen, we are in the world these days. There's so many distractions: Facebook, Instagram, emails, phone calls, text messages. It's unbelievable. And there are so many people competing for your attention, or for that patient's attention. And if you aren't loud enough, they're not going to recognize you, So one rule that we have, and people are like, how do you do that? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is what we do. We call all new referrals within 1 hour. Within 1 hour of them coming across the fax machine. So our goal is to call a patient as they're walking out of the doctor's office. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, that's how quick, like the speed of that first phone call is a huge deal. The longer that you wait, it's like, we haven't ran the statistic, but like your ability to convert them as time goes on continues to decline.
Right.
Because they get distracted, their priorities start to shift. They start figuring out, they want to go to Starbucks and they want to go shopping and Christmas is coming up and whatever. Right. And so the speed of that first phone call is one big one.
Mm-hmm. I always, whenever someone brings up speed in terms of getting new patients better, getting more effective treatment, better care, getting patients in the door, speed is a component of power. And that you can say that as you decrease the amount of speed, that increases your power, right? So if my car runs a mile in 10 seconds, it's more powerful if I get that mile in 5 or 6 seconds, right? That's
Right.
Call.
Right.
We're a more powerful company. We can create better results, do better things if we can get those patients in faster, right? We all know that we are more powerful. We get greater results. We can have a greater effect. The faster we can get things done. That particle, when it moves faster, when that business moves faster, it is more powerful.
Right. And one thing that we do is we cross-train our providers to schedule new patients.
Nice.
So if we get overloaded in the front office, it's like, somebody pick up the phone and start scheduling these new patients, right?
Yeah, don't let that phone ring more than 3 times before someone picks it up, right?
Because what happens? New patients come off the schedule, you take a day or 2 or 3 off, you don't get those new patients in, and now the beginning of the following week is starting to suffer, right? Mm-hmm. So like if you don't have those new patients continuously coming on the schedule quickly, then your pipeline is being emptied.
Yeah, we did the same thing, not the 1 hour rule. And I think that's amazing. People need to leverage that for sure. And because I love that you put it in a specific time frame, because it's one thing to say these people need to get in ASAP. It's another thing to say we need that referral to get called within an hour as soon as it comes off the fax line. Well, now there's a deadline, right? This is the expectation. It came in here and you called here, and make a note of it because we want to see how quickly you're doing it, right? I'm sure your note stuff, right? And to go to the next step, it's funny because the front desk personnel, in my experience, would tend to make those calls about the same time every day. They get into a routine, they come in, they do this, they do that, and they do this, and then they make the calls. And if you're not getting them these patients, these referrals to pick up the phone at 11 a.m. every day, why do you keep calling at 11 a.m. every day? 11 a.m. Right. They might be at work, they might be working out, they might be at lunch, you don't know. Maybe they work overnight and they're sleeping. Just don't call at the same time every day. Let's vary up the times, please, when we call. And I'm sure you're doing that. And that's probably why you're doing 2 calls a day, is for exactly that reason, I'm assuming, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we call 2 times a day for the first week. Mm-hmm. Once before noon, once after noon. Mm-hmm. Right. And we also change up the times, right? So we might call early morning, day 1, day 2, we might call late morning, right? And so we're always playing with those times.
Correct. You're opening up your 3rd clinic, and hopefully this isn't too big of a tangent, but just for those who are listening, and I don't know exactly how many owners have multiple clinics like you do or are big enough, but when we got to about 4 clinics, we started having the conversation of a separate call center. And do you envision that being somewhere down the road for you where, this call center handles all the phone calls and the faxes and makes those calls so the front desk doesn't have to? Is that something that you've looked at or is in the future for you?
Yeah, I can definitely see how phones, that's a unique skill, right? Mm-hmm. That's a unique skill. And there's a huge difference between somebody who's really, really, really effective on that first phone call versus not.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to train a new person at every single clinic, especially if you have 5 or 6 clinics, how to be really, really good on the phone.
Right.
So I can definitely see how only having to train 1 or 2 people to do the entire company would be a lot easier.
Like that little call center would handle all the calls that come into all the clinics,
Right.
make all the
Right.
scheduling appointments, do all the follow-ups, call all the doctors, yada, 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 yada. I think there's some benefit in that, but you're probably not seeing the benefit of that now with 3 clinics coming on. I mean, is that a point where you'd maybe start considering it, or would it have
Yeah,
to be
I think so. To be honest, we're going into our 3rd clinic, and it's our 2nd clinic that we're open within a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're learning a lot about our operational capacity right now,
Yeah.
and so the administrative and operations team is being stretched. And so we are definitely kind of in that place of like, maybe we don't have to continue doing it the way we've been doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do something a little different. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad, even things like authorizations or other types of back end work that's a little bit more niche, if you will.
Like phone heavy
or more the same tasks over and over and over.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you doing some stuff on the front end? You talked about the capacity, the capability to work well, talk well on the phone, and handle good phone conversations. What are you doing during your interviews process, or are you doing anything on your interviews process to see if they are good on the phone?
Well, so 2 things. Number 1, we have an in-person interview, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, let's back up a little bit further. Stage 1 is let's do a phone screen.
Yeah.
Right. There's a resume. Let's call somebody.
Let's have a quick 5 to 10 minute call.
Correct. And so I like to, obviously we want to have that call unplanned for them.
Yep.
Right. It's planned for us, not for them, because we want to know exactly how they answer the phone when they're not right.
Yes.
So getting really clear on are they chipper? Are they hello? Hey, how can I help you? That type of, or is it more like, hello, who's this? You know what I mean? Are you kind of a jerk?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I remember that experience clearly. You'd call some people and they'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And then
that's exactly the
is
tone I don't want at the front desk.
Right. And then it's like, yeah, this is Nathan calling from Rise Rehab. Oh, hi, Nathan. Yeah. And then they automatically pick up. You know what I mean? So it's like, ding. That's kind of a little ding. That's a little
exactly. You faked it.
Right.
I caught you.
So
I'm glad you brought that up, because in that first phone call, you want to get their natural tone level, an idea of what their natural tone level is.
Yes.
Are they chipper people naturally, or are they upset that you called them?
Yeah, for sure. And then, how do they handle themselves on that call? Are they exciting? Are they engaging? Are they driving the conversation, or are they just a little bit more passive?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it's a little bit more of the same whenever you're in the interview. Are they exciting? Are they smiling when they talk to you? You know?
Right.
What are their interpersonal, what are their relationship skills? What are their communication skills like?
Yeah.
And then lastly, during that working interview phase, it's like, all right, the next time it rings, I want you to pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to do. That's okay. Just figure it out. You know what I mean? Just kind of figure out what you should do.
Yeah.
And then just seeing how they navigate that.
Thank you for calling blankety blank clinic. How can I help you today?
Right.
Start off with that and then see where you go from there.
Right.
And see what their tone is like, what their voice is like. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's imperative to figure out how they do on the phone. That's one thing that we really don't talk about a lot in the interview process is, how do they come across on the phone, especially at the front desk position? They're going to have to be on that phone a lot, and you want them to have a nice, comfortable voice that's chipper. The values that you represent as a company need to be exuded through the phone, right?
Right.
And so it's important. But outside of that, what are some of the other things that you're doing to get those new referrals converted rather quickly? You've got someone who's got a good phone voice. They're talking, or at least they're reaching out within the first hour, and they're doing that a couple times a day. For how long?
As long as it takes, right?
At what point do you throw in the towel, though? I mean, at some point you got to be like, hey,
oh, you mean for a referral. So basically our process is, And I don't know if this is exactly the way it is, but it's twice a day for the first week.
Okay.
Then I believe it's once a day for the second week, 3 times a week for the third week, 2 times for the second week. And so we kind of taper it down. And then after a month, we send a note to the physician, to the referring physician of like, hey, Nathan Shields we weren't able to get in touch with him. It's a non-admit, right? Basically.
Okay. Yeah.
So
You give him a full month.
Yeah. We give him a month. We give him 30 days.
Oh my gosh. You're much nicer than we were. we have like this 3 strikes and you're out rule.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we might go a little bit longer if it's a new patient and it's a doctor that we really admired. But, we just said you need to call them multiple times a day, or different times of the day on multiple days. But at some point, and it was probably within the first week, we'd send that fax. And I'm sure you're sending a fax as well to the doctor that says, correct. FYI, we tried these communication dates at these times. They're not responding to our communications. Just so you know, they're not coming to physical therapy. And I learned that not necessarily a hard way, but in a real life example. I went to visit a physician who was a great referral source down the street. And she said, hey, tell me about so-and-so. And I looked him up really quick and I was like, never came in. She said, really? I just got done seeing him this morning. He said he'd been to 4 or 5 visits of physical therapy and that it wasn't working. I'm like, he never showed up. So you can't say that. So you can't trust the patients to
don't trust those
tell the truth when they go back to see the doctor. So we wanted to make sure we were on the right end of that.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. How many times have you you reach out to a patient for a week or two, you send that note over to the doctor, and then the patient calls you back and says, hey, I just got a call from my doctor. I need to come in for physical therapy.
I've seen that a few times, especially if they were a workers' comp case. They got in big trouble.
Oh yeah. So like getting that doctor involved, because hey, that's the doctor. You know what I mean? So leveraging that relationship.
Yeah. I mean, the doctor's abilities are on the line when they're sending out that referral, right? If a patient goes to a physical therapist and gets great results, they might not necessarily look back at the doctor and said, hey, you referred me to a great place. But if the doctor sent them to a physical therapy clinic that got bad results, that's going to look bad on the doctor, right?
Right.
So the doctor wants to make sure these people get good results, especially if they're post-surgical and they know they need the physical therapy follow-up. They're going to ensure that those patients get in, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's imperative that you may increase that communication, right? I even considered some of those faxes like marketing material, just the ability to get
put your logo on the top of it.
What's that?
Put your logo on the top of it,
logo and name up there and say, hey, we're professional. We did these things. I want to be seen as that type of organization and have my name associated with it. And I think doctors, if they don't have to sign something and they just can be told something, I think they appreciate that.
Sure.
Right.
Let me ask you another question. Well, actually, I think this is the first question I'm asking you. So how many times have you gotten a phone call from a number that you didn't know what it was, and you just kind of like let it go to voicemail?
All the time.
Right? Like if it's a number, like what are they thinking? Like, who's this freaking weird phone number calling me? Like, I'm not answering that. It's a telemarketer, right?
Right.
But how many times have the phone stopped ringing and then it starts ringing again with the same number?
Yeah. And you're thinking,
you pick it up. Like, who is this? Important. Right.
Yeah, totally.
So you call, if they don't answer, you hang up, you pick it back up, you call them right back.
Yes.
We don't know how many times. We should track this stuff, but I bet you it's like over 50% of people will answer on the second call.
Right.
Don't leave a voicemail on the first call. Right. You call. If it goes to voicemail, you hang up, pick it up immediately, call again, leave a voicemail on the second call. Right. So that's another little trick. We have that little call sequence. That's really helpful of getting more people on the phone.
Yeah. I think I experienced that. Alex Hormozy recommended that on one of his.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He's like, he just,
I told him about it.
Yeah. I'm sure he, I don't remember him giving you credit, but I'm sure it's in the notes somewhere. But he was just like, when he's making those sales calls for his gym launches and stuff like that, he's like, okay, If your salespeople don't know what the double call is, then make sure they know about the double
Really?
call. That's
Dang.
just how it
I thought I
goes.
made that up.
You're not the only one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So what do you track your conversion rates, your
We
conversion
track
rates?
our conversions, listen, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe one day when I have like a real call center, then we'll track it like a call center. But right now it's
Sure.
just, how many referrals did we get to schedule? Right.
Okay. Versus how many, so how many
Didn't.
referrals came across the fax machine versus how many scheduled? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And what,
And
do you know your percentages?
oh, I don't, but we're looking for 90% plus,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we need 90%. 90% is always kind of our standard for most
Yeah.
metrics.
Are you doing a lot of Facebook ads?
Right now we are.
Would you say your ratios go down with some of those Facebook leads? Because some of those Facebook leads, from what I'm gathering, can be kind of fishy. These are people that are just looking for free stuff. They're looking,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I didn't know I was signing up for physical therapy. I thought you'd just give me something. Or
Mm-hmm.
like my friend said today, he's getting calls from out of town because they don't do geo tracking as much anymore with the Facebook ads. So have you noticed that at all?
We haven't. Now I'll plug Chad Madden. We're doing the Chad Madden's breakthrough stuff. Like if you
Mhm.
haven't checked out Chad Madden, he helps us with our Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And what we do there is we convert them to a workshop.
Oh, okay.
And actually they do pretty good.
Mhm.
I wouldn't know for sure because I'm not a Facebook ads guy, but
Mhm.
I would have to assume that the quality of the leads has a lot to do with how good your ads are,
Mm.
right? And so if you're not getting quality leads, then you're probably pre-qualifying people to schedule a call with you.
Yeah.
That's just my experience.
What are you seeing then on your workshops? How many workshops have you done, or how often do you hold workshops, and what are your conversion ratios on those
They're
from
pretty high.
people who sign up to people who
Yeah,
actually show up to people who actually
man,
sign up for PT?
I wish I had those numbers cleanly in
Well,
front of me. I would
you could
I would
probably spitball pretty
back at the
accurate.
napkin number, I'd say half show up,
Okay, as sign
half
up.
show up. So
Mhm.
if you get 20 people sign up, half will show up.
Okay.
And then about 80% will convert to a new patient.
Mm. Okay.
But that's a whole nother topic. But that really, I mean, we weren't at 80% in the beginning. We had to figure that out, right? Like how we present, how we close the workshop, how we, position ourselves as a solution to their problem, and that sense of urgency, right? We have to
Yeah.
train our therapists on how to convert at that workshop. So
Well, that leads into something that I just thought of, and maybe you can talk to it, whether it's provider or whether it's a front desk person. What are their scripts? What are they saying to convert that person from a referral into scheduling the first initial evaluation? Because that's really valuable and where a lot of people can get lost. And I remember having to stress to my front desk personnel that when people are calling and saying, "Hey, do you take such and such insurance? And what are your hours?" You can't just answer those questions and hang up. Like, those people are shopping. And if you don't go the extra mile and ask, "Oh, tell me a little bit about your condition. Are you calling for
mhm,
yourself or someone else that you know
mhm.
needs help?" And they need to know at that point, they need to switch into sales mode and start talking to the patient, not just to give information that their patients are calling about, but to recognize that if they're calling about some of these other things, whether it's accepting insurances or availability or hours, they need to switch the conversation back to, how can I help you? And where do you feel like you need help? And so I'm wondering how you're training, what you're saying, or what you're training those people to say in order to convert them from referral to new patient.
Yeah, I think that like the thing that is really powerful here is number one, take your time. Just take your time on the phone call. Slow down. It's not a race to see who can hang up the quickest, right? And invest a little bit of energy into building a relationship with whoever's on the other end of that call.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that with asking questions, right? So like, what's going on? How can I help you? How long? Oh, I'm having shoulder pain. How long have you been having shoulder pain? What led you to the call? What have you tried before this? Right. And it's almost kind of like, if you can kind of go back to a few episodes ago, we talked a little bit about the sales process during the initial eval.
Right.
It's the same thing. Right. It's the same thing. It's the pre-sale. Right. So it's the same scripts. It's the same type of scripts, but it's just scraping the surface of that, just kind of getting them, when they get on that call, you're kind of reminding them, why are you calling and how big is your problem? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you can get clear on that, and then it's like, well, we'd love to help you. What I'm going to do now is schedule you with one of our specialists.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
And so
love it.
transitioning them to a call.
And
That's really the biggest thing.
And that's a
Taking
similar
time.
script in the workshops, I'm assuming.
Very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Very similar.
Yeah. I think reminding them, one, like you said, why they're calling, but also number two, I love that you're bringing up what other things have you tried to fix this problem? How's it worked for you in the past? Number three, how urgent is this? I mean,
Yeah. How long have you been dealing with this? You know,
would you like to get this fixed sooner or later?
right. Right. Or like, hey, what kind of activities are you having a hard time with?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know, kind of just getting them to start to kind of peel back the layers of like, oh yeah, I do have shoulder pain, and it is kind of a big deal. It's actually been bothering me for about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it kind of sucks because I can't play golf anymore and I really want to. Right. So like getting them focused on what their problem really is, and that they actually have a problem that requires them to take action.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't realize that, and it's listen, like I said, we're distracted. We have Starbucks in the background. We got the microwave going off in the back. The kids are crying, and all of those things are just pulling at our attention. And sometimes people get distracted and they forget. They talk themselves out of taking action. Right.
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity there. And I remember this from a phone call or an episode that I did with Sturdy McKee, where he talked about training the front desk to be more than just information gatherers and providers in terms of phone calls might start with, hey, I need to schedule an appointment for physical therapy. And depending on the EMR, the front desk person might just go, okay, what's your date of birth? And and then get all the information. Okay, you're scheduled for Wednesday at 3. And instead of that, how could you greater live the values of the clinic through that conversation? So someone says, hey, I need to schedule physical therapy. And if maybe it should instead be more along the lines of, oh my gosh, we would love to help you. What are we signing you up for today?
Right.
Or something like that. Or, wow, that really has to hurt. You know, my mom went through that, but how is it affecting you? And have you tried physical therapy before? What are you expecting? And okay, well, it sounds like we could definitely help you. I just need to gather some information before we get started. Yeah. And do you have any questions or concerns? Have you been through therapy before? Do you know what to expect? No, I haven't been through physical therapy before. I don't know what to expect. Okay. Well, I'm setting you up with so-and-so, and they've been here for so many years, and I've been in physical therapy myself and I love it. And so those kind of conversations, you can see how that's a different tone altogether than someone who's just gathering information.
Right.
And what that can do to ingratiate and engage the patient in your clinic, instead of someone who's just like, yeah, I got an appointment at 3 p.m. on Wednesday for my shoulder.
Yeah. I would say the first part of that call, the initial part of that call, the purpose of it is to get agreement that they're going to give you the information that you need. Right. Because if like you're building the relationship, you're helping them get clear on what their problem is. And then you're letting them know, like, I've heard you and it matters to me. And now what I would love to do is really solve that problem for you. Would you be open to that? Yeah. Because Nathan, that's his specialty. He does XYZ, and like, he's the best. Would you want to do it? Yeah. Okay, great. now once you get that yes, then it's like, let me get some information from you.
Yeah.
Right. Then you kind of got to go through the checklist. Do.
Yeah, it's got to be done at some point.
It's got to be done. You got to, all right, now let me ask, now that I've invested in you, right? Now I've served you. Now I'm in a position where I can ask, right? But if you get on there and you're like, yeah, just shut up and give me your insurance information. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
if you just give me the numbers that I need.
Just give me the number that I can send the claim to real quick.
And we can all move along and hang up as soon as possible.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you do free consults in your clinics?
We do.
Do you, this is something that I thought was pretty bold, that I think Joey recommended this as well, but for his free consults, well, number one, he doesn't do free consults. You're going to, you could, but if someone's going to do a free consult, they're going to have to provide credit card information. So such that if they cancel that free consult, they'll be charged $25. Have you ever tried anything like that?
Bold move.
Bold move. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'd sign up for that. I don't want you. I haven't signed up for you, and I'm not giving you my credit card information before I even show up.
Yeah, I think that, so if you kind of study the art of persuasion, right, at some point, I don't know Joey, but I'm sure he's been in business for quite a while. Is that what you said, Joey?
I don't know.
Joey's
been in business for a few years.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming that he's probably built up some social proof of like he's got a reputation in the community. He's got
some scripts.
He's got some right. He's got some things. He's got people know him. People know, right. And so people seek him out because his reputation in the community is so big, right? And so once you have that, you can start leveraging that and positioning yourselves in a little bit more leverage when you're scheduling.
I could see that if you leveraged it such, and you had the right front desk person with the right mentality, they could say, listen, we are doing a free consult with you, but hopefully you recognize that the physical therapist time is very valuable. It could be a filtering mechanism, right?
100%.
So you could say, yeah, we're going to do free consults, but we've had some poor attendance,
right?
Consults. So if we want to get a higher arrival rate to our free consults, then they've got to have a little skin in the game. And if they show up, we're not charging you anything. But if you don't give us the notice that we need, because we're setting aside this time specifically for you in a one-on-one appointment, then we're going to have to charge you for it.
Yeah.
So I could see that as a potential filtering mechanism that you could use to ensure, maybe even incentivize and filter out those who aren't serious.
Right. No, I can definitely see that. I guess that's a pretty, it's a common, like, if you're getting a lot of leads or people in your door that are not qualified, that either A, you can't help, or B, they're not qualified, then the only solution I know of is to increase the barrier to entry, right? And you could do that with your recruiting efforts when you're getting resumes, or you can do that with, any free things that you're giving away. So yeah, I can definitely see how that could be used.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as your conversion process, that's pretty much it. You get the referral, they call within an hour, calling multiple times a day for, you guys do it for a month, which is kudos to you.
Don't forget text message.
Oh, okay. So you're leveraging not just phone calls.
Some people don't like to talk on the phone.
That's true.
Especially nowadays, digital. If you don't have a way to text your patients, get one. You got to have that.
Yes.
You could stop this recording, go get a text, get something that's going to allow you to communicate via text message with your people.
And it's not coming from their personal cell phones.
No, it comes.
Just make sure it's coming from.
Yeah, there's all kinds of programs out there, like softwares that you can download to your computer, or maybe they're in the cloud, and you get a number that you could communicate with via text message. It's way worth it. Way worth it.
Right.
So don't forget, you can text them.
When you're reaching out to them a couple of times a day, it's phone and text, or phone or text?
We do phone and text. So ideally they pick up the phone, right?
Right.
But if they don't, then they're going to text, right?
Gotcha.
And that text is very important, because if it's too long, they're not going to read it.
Right.
But if you say, hey, this is Nathan calling on behalf of, or I'm texting you on behalf of your physician, right? We have orders and we need to discuss. Please give us a call at whatever. Gotcha. Something like that. You're going to drive them.
This is something that they can just copy and paste. I mean, you don't
copy paste.
They're not creating this on the fly for every patient, right?
Correct.
This is just part of the procedure, part of the system.
Yeah. So like, there's the outreach piece, and it's always be more urgent, be quicker, and have more channels, like leverage text, leverage emails. If sometimes an email will come across the fax, leverage all the communication channels that you can. If there's not a secondary phone number, call the doctor, see if they have another secondary phone number on, like get multiple phone numbers,
exactly.
And just really go after that patient. You just want to get them on the phone. And your job is to make them either convert or tell you no. Right. You just don't ever want to have a cold lead. So that's the outreach piece. You're going to invite them you're going to serve them. You're going to invite them. You're going to ask them to give you the demographic information. Now we also have to make sure that they show up. So there's some information that they're going to need. Right. So like making sure that they know what time to show up. Right. If their appointment's at 10 o'clock, they don't show up at 10, right?
Right.
They show up
they know what to wear.
They show up at 9:30 or 9:45, because what? There's paperwork. Right. So like, okay, Nathan, like, so now we got to close the call. And it's like, you're going to arrive at 9:30, and there's going to be 5 pieces of paper for you to fill out on your first visit. How many times have you gotten new patients that come in and they're like, hey, welcome to your first appointment. Here's your paperwork. What? I don't fill this paperwork out. What are you talking about?
I just did this at the doctor's office.
Right. You guys can get this from my doctor. Now you're a jerk.
Yeah. Right.
But if you make sure that you tell them there's going to be 5 pieces of paper for you to fill out, and it's just for the first appointment. Cool. Right. And they get there and there's 5 pieces of paper. Right. So they got to make sure that they know that. You got to make sure they know where you're located. Not just the address. They can't just spit off the address, right? We're on, Rock Ranch Road, right across the street from McDonald's. You know where that's at? Yeah. Okay, great. What side of town are you coming from? I'm coming from this side of town. Great. You pass that up, we're going to be right there on the left-hand side. You know where that? I know exactly where that's at. Great. 9:30. You know what I mean? Lastly, they're going to have to know, like, make sure they bring their photo ID, their driver's license, their script, if they have a script, or their insurance card.
Right.
And so what we like to do is make sure that they have to be educated on those 4 things before hanging up.
Well, you have to include a 5th thing, I'm sure, in there as well.
Ooh, is there?
What is their financial responsibility?
So that's a great topic. So we don't do that.
Oh, you don't do that prior to the first visit?
Nope. We do not do that.
Oh, tell me about that.
We do it, and we will if they ask. Right.
Prior to showing up.
Right. So like our theory is we're not going to create objections for them. And it's like if you go buy a car, and if you call the car lot and they say, hey, I want to buy a new Ford pickup truck. How much does it cost? Well, you come on in. We'll take a look at it. Right. We'll drive it around. We'll kind of get clear on what you need. And then we'll talk price, and we'll see if we can work out something financially for you. Does that sound fair? Right. And not that we want to be used car salesmen.
I was going to say, people listening are going to be like, you're treating patients like cars.
Not at all. Not even for a second. However, it's also, I have a hard time laying out, telling people to show up with $100 if they don't even know who I am, they don't know what we do, how we do things, what value, or even if we can help them. Right. I really want to try to give them an opportunity to come back, meet with the therapist, get clear with their pain